The expression is to err is human, to forgive divine. I don't know who originated that statement, but it communicates a very biblical principle. And perhaps one of the best illustrations of that principle is found in one of the first sayings that Jesus utters from the cross. In fact, in our next, including today, our next 7 visits, we want to visit when Jesus speaks from the cross. The first time he does that, we find it in Luke chapter 23. And in fact, as you begin reading at verse 32, it says, 2 others, criminals, were also led away to be executed or crucified with him. When they arrived at the place called the Skull, they crucified him there along with the criminals, one on the right and one on the left. Then Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. So many things immediately speak to our soul and our heart when we read about this incident. Our hearts are touched deeply, of course, by Jesus' death for us. But even in this moment of being crucified with these criminals and all the depraved things that are happening and causing this to happen, Jesus prays. When Jesus finds himself in this very difficult place and finds himself in this place that certainly he doesn't deserve to be in, the first thing he does is pray. The first thing he says is Father. And when we find ourselves in situations that, we'd rather not be in, situations that are certainly very difficult to be in, do we say Father? Do we pray? I also find it interesting that Jesus prayed for forgiveness for the people who were doing these horrific things to him. And interestingly enough, no one had even asked for forgiveness. Jesus, of his own initiative, says, forgive them. It's a challenge sometimes when we're hurt. It's a challenge sometimes when people say nasty things about us, to forgive. But it's an even greater challenge to forgive when they haven't even asked us. And yet Jesus gives us the example of what it means to be divine, to offer the forgiveness, to extend it as a possibility for all mankind, even when mankind hadn't even thought about asking for it. In our better moments of reflection, when our hearts are touched by the things we have done, we ask. In fact, Hebrews chapter 6, verse 6 tells us that when we stray away, it's like re-crucifying Christ and putting him on the cross again. And so we know that when we do that we need to come to a realization. We need to ask. We need to pray to the Father. And through Jesus, he forgives. And so let's remember that Jesus always loves us, is always willing, and that his forgiveness is great and grand.